Titration Part 3. Now we proceed to titration. Carefully turn the burette stopcock, and then add the sodium hydroxide solution into the conical flask slowly. Shown in the video is the common practice for carrying out titration. Control the burette stopcock with left hand. At the same time, hold the conical flask with right hand. Slowly swirl the flask to ensure fluid mixing of the mixture in the flask. If phenomenon is used as the indicator, the solution changes from colorless to pink when the endpoint is reached. When the titration approaches the endpoint, momentary color change is observed. At this stage, the addition of the sodium hydroxide solution should be slowed down and the solution should be added drop by drop. Every time, after a small amount of standard solution is added, swirl the flask carefully and check for persistent color change. When the endpoint is almost reached, carefully release half drop of the solution from the burette. Flush the half drop into the flask with the ionized water. Check if the color change is persistent. If the color change is persistent, the endpoint is reached. Record the burette reading. The amount of standard sodium hydroxide solution used in the titration can be calculated by subtracting the initial reading from the final reading. For example, the initial reading and the final reading of this titration are 1.82 and 25.78 ml, respectively. After subtraction of the two numbers, it can be determined that 23.96 ml of sodium hydroxide solution is used in the titration. In general, 2 or 3 trials are carried out in a titration to increase the accuracy of the results. The average value is determined as the final result. Suppose 3 trials are carried out in this titration, and the results are 23.96, 24.00, and 23.88 ml. The average is 23.95 ml, and hence, the final result is 23.95 ml. Since 23.96 ml of the standard solution was used to reach the endpoint in the first titration, to save time in the subsequent titrations, 23 ml of the sodium hydroxide solution can be added quickly into the diluted hydrochloric acid solution in the conical flask. The solutions are mixed thoroughly. Then the sodium hydroxide solution is added slowly until the endpoint is reached. To save time in a titration, a primitive test can be conducted to determine the approximate amount of titrant needed to reach the endpoint. The titrant is added to the sample quickly. In each time, 1 ml of titrant is added until the color change of the indicator occurs. The approximate amount of titrant for the titration can be obtained for subsequent accurate titrations. Note that the approximate value obtained is only for more efficient subsequent titrations. It should not be used for the final average of the titration value.